Elliot had heard the stories about the old scarecrow in Warlap Field. Everyone in town knew about it. How it had stood there for decades, untouched by time, always watching. The farmers never changed it, the crows never landed near it, and no one dared approach it after dark. Some claimed it was cursed, others swore they had seen it move. Elliot didn't believe in superstitions. He was a man of logic, of reason. So when his car sputtered and died on the dirt road near the field, he didn't panic. He cursed under his breath, checked his phone, no signal, and decided to walk back to town. It was only a mile or so away. The moment he stepped onto the dirt path leading past the field, the air changed. It was colder here. The kind of cold that seeped into your bones, that made your skin feel too tight. The wind had died completely, and the trees bordering the field stood eerily still. And there it was. The scarecrow. It loomed in the middle of the field, its frame unnaturally tall and spindly beneath a tattered burlap cloak. A wide-brimmed hat sat atop its head, tilted at an angle, as if in quiet contemplation. Its arms stretched outward at odd angles, the fabric of its sleeves torn and swaying slightly. But it was the face that made Elliot hesitate. No stitched smile. No cartoonish features. Just an old burlap sack stretched over a misshapen skull, hollow eye sockets sunken deep. The darkness within them seemed endless, as if they led to something far beyond the limits of sight. The fabric of its head was filled with dirt, and something darker, stains that had long since dried, absorbed into the coarse weave. The mouth, if it had one, was obscured by shadows, giving the illusion that at any moment, it might shift, part, and whisper something unspeakable. He tore his gaze away and started back toward his car. He had barely taken 5 steps when he heard it. His breath caught. Slowly, he turned his head. The scarecrow hadn't moved. And yet, something felt off. The moonlight cast long, eerie shadows across the field, and in the dim glow, he could have sworn the scarecrow's arm had lifted slightly. Just enough for the fingers, twisted, straw-bound things, to be reaching, as though beckoning. Shaking it off, he climbed back into his car and turned the key. The engine sputtered, coughed, died. Then, but not from the car. From outside. Elliot's pulse quickened. He turned his head slowly, expecting to see someone, anyone, standing there. But there was nothing. Just the field, stretching endlessly under the pale moonlight. The scarecrow, however, looked different. Its head was tilted slightly to the side now, its posture more rigid. His skin prickled. No. It had to be a trick of the light. He wiped his hands against his jeans, throat dry. Just an old farm decoration. Nothing more. Still. He grabbed his flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out. If some kid was out here messing with him, he'd find out. The beam of light cut through the darkness as he moved cautiously toward the scarecrow. The closer he got, the stronger the scent of damp earth and something rotten. his stomach turned. The ground beneath the Scarecrow looked disturbed, like the soil had been dug up and hastily covered again. The footprints surrounding it weren't just his own. There were others, deeper, elongated impressions that trailed in strange, circular paths, as if something had been dragging itself along the ground. Elliot hesitated. He shone the flashlight up at the Scarecrow's face. He staggered back. The head tilted. No. That wasn't possible. It had been looking straight ahead just seconds ago. He raised the flashlight again, hands trembling. Then he spun around, the light sweeping across the field. Empty. No movement. Just the wind beginning to pick up again. But when he turned back, the Scarecrow was no longer on the post. The wooden beam stood bare, its bindings cut, rope hanging loosely in the wind. Elliot's breath hitched. He turned, his flashlight trembling in his grip. Shadows shifted along the ground. Then he saw it. Not standing. Not even walking. Crawling. A dark shape, contorted and unnatural, moving in jerking, insect-like motions across the field toward him. Straw limbs bent at horrific angles, fingers twitching, head lolling as if its neck had been broken. The sound it made was worse than anything, the rasping of dried husks scraping against each other, a whispered, unformed word in the wind. Elliot ran. He reached the car, yanked the door open. Then, from the back seat, a hand, cold, brittle, straw-woven, clamped over his mouth. The last thing he saw was his own reflection in the rear-view mirror, and the hollow, empty socket staring back at him. The next morning, the Scarecrow was back on its post. But now, its burlap face was different. Its eyes weren't hollow anymore. They held something deep within them, something that had once belonged to Elliot.